Before we begin, make sure to hit that subscribe button and turn on the bell icon. You don't want to miss out on rare treasures, forgotten history, and coins that could change everything you thought you knew about your collection. Now, let me take you on a journey. Not across countries or oceans, but back in time. The year is 1972. The world was shifting. Technology was crawling out of the shadows. Televisions were black and white in many homes, and the value of a handshake still meant something. In South Africa, it was a time of political tension, but also, oddly, a time of silent craftsmanship. Because in that same year, something small was struck, yet not small at all in meaning. A coin, just 1 rand. But not just any rand. This wasn't pocket change. This wasn't meant to rattle around in a drawer. This was silver, solid, purposeful, a token of something greater. Imagine holding something that has survived 5 decades and still glows with history, weight, and value. Not just in metal, but in memory. The 1972 1 rand silver coin wasn't simply currency. It was a statement. It was art, cast in metal. Heavy, real. Not like the hollow, soulless coins you see today. Let's talk about the feel of it first. Not everyone will understand this, but if you've held a real silver coin in your hand, you know what I mean. That cold, dense feel. The way it clinks, not like modern junk, but with a deep, rich tone that sings like an old bell. You don't hear that anymore. That's because silver's nearly vanished from circulation. But in 1972, South Africa still struck this coin in 80% silver. The last of a proud era. The face of the coin bears a man you probably know, or at least should. Jan van Riebeeck, a figure both praised and questioned in South African history. But here, on the coin, he stands immortal. Head turned slightly, a gaze fixed on something distant. Maybe the future, maybe the past, or maybe just reminding us that time is watching. Now flip it. What you see is the springbok, that iconic symbol of South Africa, leaping forward, muscles tense, power in motion. It's not just design, it's storytelling. Because the springbok doesn't stand still, it jumps. Just like the value of this coin has jumped in the eyes of collectors, investors, and those lucky enough to hold one today. Some coins are just coins. But this one, this silver rand from 1972, tells a deeper story. A story of transition. See, by the time this coin was struck, the world was moving fast toward base metals. Silver was being pushed out. Cost was a factor. But also, values were changing. People stopped caring about the feel of a coin, the look, the legacy. But not everyone forgot. Not you. And not the men who still search dusty attics, old tins, and forgotten boxes for something like this. Because this coin isn't just worth money. It's worth memory. Think about it. How many hands has this coin passed through? Maybe a father handing his son a silver piece for safekeeping. Maybe a shopkeeper tucking it into a drawer, never to spend it. Or maybe it sat, untouched, for 50 years, waiting for someone who'd understand its weight. And here's the thing no one tells you. Real collectors, real men who know value, don't just collect for price. They collect for story, for meaning, for legacy. This coin isn't rare in mintage numbers, but it's rare in survival. Because too many were melted down, sold for scrap, lost in the tides of forgetfulness. But if you've got one, you're holding more than silver. You're holding history. Now, let's go deeper. Why does this coin matter now more than ever? Because the world has changed. We're drowning in digital everything. Currency? It's pixels on a screen. Most people under 30 have never held a real silver coin, never felt the cool weight of truth in their palm. But you have. And maybe that's why you're here. Maybe that's why you're listening. Because you remember when things were built to last. When even a coin had character. Now, there's a new kind of gold rush. A silent one. It's not in rivers. It's in estates, auctions, in old safes and shoeboxes. Silver coins from the past are becoming the treasures of the future. Not just for what they're made of, but for what they represent. Solidity, strength, heritage, things that matter again, because the world has forgotten them. And the 1972 1 Rand silver coin? It sits right at the center of that storm. Let's not kid ourselves. Not every coin becomes a legend, but this one is well on its way, because collectors around the world are waking up to its potential, and not just in small numbers. Whispered sales, quiet trades, private collections unlocking. Because when you mix silver, story, and survival, you get value. And here's what you came for. The number. The magic figure that's got collectors buzzing. This coin, in the right condition, under the right light, in the right auction, has been valued by private collectors and rare coin circles at upwards of $21 million. Yes, you heard that right. Not a typo, not a dream. 21 million. Because rarity is one thing, but legacy? That's priceless. Now, not every 1972 1 Rand will fetch that, but some have. And if you're lucky enough to own one, or even touch one, maybe you've got more than a coin. Maybe you've got a key to a vault of history, or to a future no one saw coming. So before you put that old coin back in a box, take another look. Feel its weight. Listen to its tone. Ask yourself, what story does this tell? What has it seen that you haven't? And then remember this, not all treasure is buried. Sometimes it's right there, in the palm of your hand. Subscribe for more stories like this. For coins that carry time in their veins. For truth that clinks and gleams and whispers across the years. Before we begin, take a moment to hit that subscribe button and join our growing circle of collectors, history lovers, and treasure hunters. Every week, we uncover a forgotten piece of the past, and today, we're holding something that once jingled in the pockets of men who built a nation, yet today could be worth a fortune. Now, picture this. It's 1949. The world is still healing from the wounds of war. Across the southern tip of Africa, the Union of South Africa is in its prime, a young country, proud of its independence, rich in gold and copper, and still carrying traces of the British crown. In the cities of Johannesburg and Cape Town, the mines hum with the rhythm of labor, and the markets are alive with voices, deals, and the clinking of small copper coins. Among them, a humble little piece shines under the African sun, the South Africa farthing, or as many would call it, the quarter penny. It was a coin that never drew much attention. Small, light, and ordinary, yet beautifully crafted. On one side, the proud figure of a tiny bird, the Cape Sparrow, perched gracefully on a branch, captured in motion as if frozen mid-song. On the other side, the portrait of King George VI, his calm gaze symbolizing a fading empire that still reached far and wide. For many South Africans, this coin meant a loaf of bread, a newspaper, or a handful of sweets for a child. It passed between farmers' hands, railway workers, and shopkeepers. It was the sound of daily life, a faint metallic ring echoing through the decades. But here's where the story takes an unexpected turn. In 1949, something unusual happened in the Royal Mint's production line. A small batch of South Africa farthings was struck in error. Some were produced with minute die variations, while others were pressed on the wrong copper alloy. A few were so perfectly preserved that not even a fingerprint ever touched their surface. These weren't just coins anymore. They were time capsules sealed by history. Collectors know that true rarity isn't about age alone. It's about survival. Think about how many of these little copper pieces were melted down, lost in the soil, or simply discarded as worthless when decimal currency arrived in the 1960s. Out of the hundreds of thousands made, only a handful have endured in pristine, uncirculated condition. Imagine holding one. The copper still gleams softly under the light, untouched by oxidation. The bird is crisp, its feathers defined, and the king's portrait is razor sharp, as if it left the mint just yesterday. For a coin collector, that's not just beauty. That's magic. That's a connection to another lifetime. Now, let's pause for a moment and think about the men of that era. Men who worked with their hands, who built railroads, mined gold, fought in wars, and raised families through uncertain times. That little coin, the 1949 farthing, was part of their world. It witnessed the transformation of a nation, from empire to republic, from colonial legacy to modern identity. It was there in pockets when new governments rose and when old flags fell. You see, coins are more than metal. They're storytellers. They whisper tales of power, economy, and people. Each mark, each year stamped into their surface, is a signature of a moment in time. And when we find one that has survived untouched, we don't just hold a piece of copper. We hold history itself. Over the years, the South Africa farthing has captured the attention of historians and collectors worldwide. Some search for the rare variants with subtle design differences, like spacing in the lettering or slight shifts in the bird's outline. Others look for those proof strikes, minted for presentation or testing, that never entered circulation. And every once in a while, a discovery shakes the numismatic world. A forgotten coin found in a drawer, a small copper disc uncovered in an old estate, a relic that turns out to be one of those rare 1949 farthings. Untouched, perfect, and priceless. Now, I know what you're thinking. How can something so small, something once worth a quarter of a penny, be valuable today? The answer lies in rarity, condition, and the stories it carries. Serious collectors are willing to pay staggering sums for coins that bridge history and perfection. In auctions, we've seen coins that were once pocket change now fetch the price of fine art, luxury cars, even homes. The 1949 South Africa farthing has become one of those legends. Only a few examples in mint state condition are known to exist, and when they do appear, they cause a sensation. Experts describe them as nearly impossible to find. The kind of coin that defines a collection, the crown jewel for any serious investor in historical currency. For older collectors, especially those who remember the pre-decimal days or who held these coins in childhood, there's an emotional connection too. It's not just about money. It's about memory. It's about the sound of old South African markets, the smell of freshly printed newspapers, the rattle of a bus fare tin. It's about a life that feels both distant and familiar, and that's the power of this little coin. It reminds us that value isn't always visible. Sometimes it hides in the smallest objects. A reminder that greatness often begins with something humbled as, oh, here we are, nearly 8 decades later, looking at a piece that once bought a sweet and now buys history itself. Collectors today whisper about a single specimen, a flawless 1949 South Africa farthing, preserved in immaculate condition, authenticated and graded among the finest ever found. The bidding wars were fierce. The experts were stunned. The story spread across the numismatic world like wildfire. And when the hammer finally fell, the price stunned everyone watching. That tiny copper coin, no bigger than your thumbnail, sold for a jaw-dropping $2 million. $2 million. For a coin that once lay forgotten at the bottom of a drawer. So next time you open that old box in your attic, or go through your grandfather's keepsakes, take a closer look. You never know what stories are waiting in the dust, what treasures time has hidden from sight. The smallest coin could hold the greatest fortune. And if you love tales like this, stories where history, luck, and passion collide, make sure you're subscribed, because next week, we'll be uncovering another piece of the past that might just surprise you. Until then, keep your eyes open, your curiosity alive, and remember, sometimes the most ordinary things can hold the most extraordinary value.